Okay, so welcome back, and this is our second session, and we are going to explore the hero's journey.
And we're going to talk about character qualities, themes, and messages. I think it's important to give a little historical background on the hero's journey, mostly to explain why it works and why it's still used today. So back in the 1940s, Joseph Campbell studied mythologies from all over the world, and he found that cultures that had no contact with one another often had created myths that followed a strikingly similar pattern. And based on this, Campbell developed a template he called the monomyth. He wrote about it in his 1948 book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces. The monolith template is what we now call the hero's journey. Campbell's theory was that as humans, we share an instinctive desire for a story to make sense within a recognizable plot structure, and that archetypal story is built into our consciousness. Then in 1985, a story analyst at Disney Studios named Christopher Vogler wrote this 7-page memo on the hero with a thousand faces. He later develops that into a book, 1992, The Writer's Journey, Mythic Structures for Writers. This becomes the most popular reference book for all screenwriters on story structure. The hero's journey makes sense to us in an unconscious, fundamental way. Maybe that's because Joseph Campbell is right and we have this innate archetypal sense of story, or maybe it's just due to Christopher Vogler's overwhelming influence on the last 40 years of TV and movies.
In our initial story sessions with Jen, she rewrote one of our existing client narratives using the hero story. It felt more engaging, and it felt like a real story. We knew we wanted to change our narratives, but we didn't know where to start or how exactly to make them better. The hero's journey template was something I could use immediately because it provided a timeline for us to follow.
Campbell's monomyth had 17 stages. Vogler's has 12. Any of the How to Write a Screenplay books are based on these two models. I'm writing a book on story structure, so naturally I have my own version.
There are two storylines in Finding Nemo. One follows Marlin and Dory, the other focuses on Nemo. We're going to outline Marlin's plotline.
So the first stage in the hero's journey is the setup. The protagonists in their ordinary world. We establish their personality and important relationships. We show the rules of the world. The protagonist has an ordinary world goal, and the protagonist's internal motivation is foreshadowed. So in Finding Nemo in the beginning, Marlin found a new home with a view of the drop-off, but the traumatic barracuda incident leaves only Marlin and Nemo in the reef. So in this world, the reef is safe, the drop-off is dangerous. We go about ordinary day-to-day stuff, and now it's the first day of school. Marlin's a single father now. He's loving, but he's overprotective. Marlin and Nemo are close, but Nemo tires of Marlin's anxious parenting and wishes that Marlin would trust him, which is the internal motivation.
Next is the crossing over. This is an inciting event that creates a problem, launches our protagonist into a new and unknown world. Usually introduce the mentor here, and the protagonist's external motivation is created to address the problem. Marlin freaks out that Nemo's class is going to the drop-off. Nemo is embarrassed by Marlin and he swims out to touch the boat. Our inciting event is when the diver nets Nemo and takes him to the boat. The problem, Marlin and Nemo are separated. The new and unknown world is that Marlin can now not protect Nemo. Marlin chases after the boat and he immediately bumps into Dory, who's his mentor. His external motivation is to find Nemo.
The second threshold, the protagonist ventures further into the unknown world. The tension or danger increases and the stakes are higher. The protagonist sets the first goal toward achieving their external motivation. In Finding Nemo, we move further into the unknown world, the shark support group. The increased danger is when Bruce the shark goes blood frenzy. He's the antagonist. The first goal is to read the address on the diver's mask. We go further into the unknown world. Marlin and Dory swim to the abyss to find the mask. There is an increased danger. The anglerfish swallows Marlin, also an antagonist.
Now we get to the instruction stage. Different characters can act as instructors, including the protagonist. Instruction comes in three main forms: practical information needed to achieve external motivation, understanding or explaining what it's like to be me, and social insights on how to act or how to overcome societal pressures and conditioning. So in Finding Nemo, we have a school of moonfish who reprimand Marlin for being mean to Dory and interrupting her. Marlin is frustrated. The school of moonfish give directions to East Australian current. The school of moonfish warn Dory to go through the trench and not over it. And Dory tells Marlin to trust her because they are friends.
Then we hit our midpoint ordeal. The protagonist faces an unexpected obstacle or setback, and a second goal is created to overcome that obstacle. The obstacle is the trench and then the jellyfish. Dory is stung by jellyfish. And the second goal is Marlin creates a game to race through the jellyfish and get safely through that zone.
Then we come upon the change of fates. Change of fates is a drastic change in a circumstance, either positive or negative. The protagonist sees a real-life example of their internal motivation achieved. In Finding Nemo, the drastic change is Marlin and Dory are saved by the sea turtles. Crush the turtle trusts the sun squirt to re-enter the current on his own.
Now we're at the all is lost stage. The protagonist is at their lowest moment so far and is forced to face their greatest fear. The mentor provides insight and support during this time, and the protagonist experiences an epiphany about their internal motivation. In Finding Nemo, the lowest moment, Marlin and Dory are in the whale's mouth. Marlin believes that he will never find Nemo. Dory encourages Marlin to let go and trust the world.
Then we head towards our final fight. This is the last big confrontation with an ultimate antagonist. And this is when our protagonist either achieves or abandons their external motivation. The protagonist also passes the ultimate test of their internal motivation during the final fight. Marlin and Dory find Nemo. The ultimate antagonists are humans, the fishermen. They capture Dory in their net with hundreds of other fish. And the ultimate test is when Marlin trusts Nemo to go into the net and save Dory.
The final stage is the aftermath. The protagonist has significantly changed. They live in a better situation they have created using the knowledge and skills they gained during their journey. So at the end of the story, the significant change is that Marlin is loose and relaxed. He jokes with the other parents. Nemo is affectionate with Marlin. Everyone is happy together in the reef. We don't want to use the same exact format for every narrative that we use. It's important that they feel individual with their own tone and style. And we want each narrative to achieve a different goal in educating the public in some aspect of domestic or sexual violence. We adapted the hero's journey to fit the journey of a survivor and to address the goals for a specific narrative. For Laura's stories, our goals were: begin with Laura's life before meeting Jack, show her strengths and personality, explain the attraction and promise of the relationship, describe non-physical forms of abuse, explain barriers to leaving a relationship, focus on Laura's decisions and actions, highlight specific services provided by DSVS, avoid oversimplified happy endings.
It was very important to us to begin the story with Laura as a person, not with her abuse. Give her a personality and support system and life goals.
We adapted the section a bit. The inciting event, meeting Jack, doesn't immediately create a problem. We wanted to show Jack as an ally at the beginning, and the mentor, DSVS, doesn't appear in the story yet. Like all of us in the beginning of a marriage, Laura's external motivation is to make her marriage work.
In this section, the relationship dynamic shifts dramatically. Jack's abusive behavior creates a problem for Laura, but her external motivation is the same: to maintain the relationship. Her goal to achieve this motivation is to tell no one about the abuse. The danger and the stakes increase to the breaking point event that causes Laura to seek help.
This is a very short section, and much of the instruction and advocacy we offer during this stage is not detailed here. In other narratives, we use this section to explain the practical information we provide, like obtaining a temporary order of protection and determining lethality factors. The what it's like to be me aspect is so important because this is often the first time a client can discuss their situation, their feelings and fears openly and safely. It's also oftentimes the point when a survivor understands their experience as abuse. How to act can sound a little preachy, but for us, it involves suggestions for safety planning, exit strategies, and maintaining boundaries.
We skipped the midpoint ordeal for this story and moved right into the change of fates. This stage is the perfect time to show some of the services we are able to offer. Laura's internal motivation is to protect herself and her child, and her situation is the real-life example of protection.
And with all is lost, here we're really just trying to educate the reader. The lowest moment is often not during the crisis of a trauma, but in quiet moments afterward. A survivor's greatest fear isn't always the return of the perpetrator. It can be about the possible judgment and rejection from others in their lives.
So, in the final fight, the focus is on Laura's progress and growth. We wanted to show a survivor's journey doesn't end when they're free of a situation. Dealing with the past trauma can be the ultimate antagonist. Laura's external motivation was to make her marriage work, and she abandons that here. The ultimate test of her internal motivation is to protect herself from Jack's attempts to reunite.
We didn't want to overplay this transformation and diminish the ongoing struggles a survivor may face, but we definitely wanted to end on a hopeful note.
The thing to remember when using the Hero's Journey template is you can adjust parts of the timeline. I say the stages that are most important, that are vital to something feeling like a story, to have a setup, to have a crossing over, change of fate, all is lost, and a final fight. So an abbreviated narrative, you should try to hit those. Once you have your characters and motivations and a timeline, the next step is the actual writing of a narrative. And in this next section, we're going to cover character qualities, theme, and message. And those things will tie your story together on a sentence level. We're using a specific definition of overall theme here, and that is that it is a one-word positive quality. It can be interpreted in various contexts. Each character can aspire to the theme in different ways, and it can be redefined by a character through the course of a story. So here's some examples: hope, protect, honor, imagine, serve, search, understand. In Finding Nemo, our overall theme is trust. This is a one-word positive quality, and this is from wordhippo.com. If this is the only thing you take away from today is wordhippo.com, you're welcome. Enjoy. It's the best thesaurus online. So there's more context listed there than this, but these are the ones that I think you can see illustrated in the movie. Each character can aspire to trust in different ways. At first, Marlin isn't trusting anyone or anything. If anything, Dory is too trusting. And Nemo wants trust. He wants trust from his father. He wants the tank gang to trust him. And the whole journey for Marlin is about trust, and for Nemo. Marlin needs to learn to trust Nemo, and he needs to learn to trust the world outside the reef. And Nemo needs to learn to trust himself.
We chose the theme Protect for our revised narrative. After initial rough outline, I used WordHippo to find different contexts and synonyms for protect and then sprinkled them throughout Laura's story. In the narrative, Laura initially feels protected by Jack. After the first violence, she protects her marriage by telling no one. Over the next 10 years, she is guarded against his outbursts. She isolates herself from friends and family to protect the secret of her situation. When she runs from the house, it's to protect her daughter. Shelter and safety are inherently about protection, but adding the more emotional variations of the word make the narrative more engaging and relatable.
We wanted the narrative to show a well-rounded person with specific drives and qualities. Jen had a list of character elements, and we spent some time considering which of those to use and how best to use them. The first element is the lacking. It's a core sense of longing, the underlying drive for our decisions. In Finding Nemo, Marlin is lacking a sense of safety from the world. Nemo, like most kids, feels as though he isn't being given agency, and Dory lacks belonging. We were really drawn to using this quality because it's universal and relatable. In the setup of the narrative, Laura is seeking the same thing many people want, belonging.
In Finding Nemo, Marlin has the false belief that Nemo cannot survive on his own. Nemo believes that his father will not be brave enough to look for him. A false belief can keep us in unhealthy situations or relationships, but we wanted to be careful not to reinforce any stereotypes of survivors as uncertain or insecure. While people certainly do have beliefs of unworthiness, we wanted to get more out of this element. So we decided to direct the false belief outward rather than inward and focus on beliefs about the behavior and reactions of other people. In Laura's story, her false belief is about the judgment she believes she'll receive from family and friends.
Something missing from the original narratives I read was any reference to the survivor's strengths, their skills, and defining qualities. Marlin is a loving father. If he wasn't, there wouldn't have been a journey. Nemo is curious. Dory is trusting. We decided to make Laura's core characteristic be that she's capable. It's evident in the description of her pre-relationship life. But it was Laura's capability that kept the marriage together, and it's the quality that got her out and helped her rebuild.
We decided not to highlight any personality weaknesses for survivors in our narratives. Of course, everyone has flaws, but we didn't want the reader to draw any correlation between a character defect and trauma.
Because really, what we wanted to highlight was that everyone deserves healthy relationships. We all have flaws. That's not the point. Everyone deserves healthy relationships. And really the motivating factor for us in these storytelling was to help shorten the distance between the reader and the character, right? So it's important for people to see themselves in this story and understand that anyone can end up in a situation like this, and your status, your social standing, your economic situation, your background, none of those things can protect you. And so through storytelling, we help shorten the distance between the character's experience and the reader's experience. And ultimately, if you can do that with a story, then I think you can develop empathy for your mission and the people that you serve.
And reading through the existing original narratives, that was the missed opportunity that I thought was the biggest, was this lack of overall message. And so that was the huge goal in reworking the narratives. The message in general is this open-ended question, but it could also be any dynamic within your field that you want people to know more about. How does it feel to be in an abusive relationship? What gets you in there? How do you leave?
Thank you so much for joining us over these last 2 sessions. We hope you can take some of this home with you to be able to write your own narratives about your own clients and your own nonprofit organizations. If you'd like some more support, we've created a private Facebook group, and you can find a QR code as well as a link on the sources page on both of these sessions slides. And we hope you'll join us. It'll be just a safe space for you to share your stories and your narratives with other people who are on this training, and a place to just shoot your ideas around if you need to get help or just want some extra feedback. It's just a place for you all to meet.
are going to say goodbye.
Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
We love you. We'll see you soon. How do we
Remember,
how do we
the
want
start
to
is
how do we want to get out of this?